Everyone, you are watching Rob's MetalWorks, and we are here tonight once again to deliver the goods at the Rob's MetalWorks Studio, to deliver the best in bands and metal musicians from the great Lone Star State. And tonight is a special evening as I bring to you, yes, the master growler and a guy that I've wanted on this show for quite some time. I have with me the man, Mr. Juan Garcia of Athanatos and Indisgust and much more I found out tonight. Juan, welcome to our show.
Hello. Thanks for having me. Stoked to be here.
Oh, Juan, we've been chatting it up tonight before we started rolling. And first of all, I want to thank you for coming over. I know that you don't live in San Antonio, so thank you for taking the time and opportunity to come and share about all the wonderful things that you're doing in the metal world. Now, like I shared with you as well, I really want this interview not only to focus on, some of the bands that you're in, but really more kind of like a career, kind of legacy, kind of background on who you are. Because even though you are a young man, I still believe that you've accomplished so much more than a lot of other people who kind of do the same thing that you do. So let's get started. I mentioned just now that you're not from San Antonio. You currently live in New Braunfels.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about how you came to be in New Braunfels, because I learned tonight you're originally from the RGV.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Share a little bit about that.
So I came to New Braunfels about 2010. My initial goal was, to be in a band, play shows.
Even at that time?
Yeah, even at that time. So
how old were you at that time?
At that time, I think I was about 16 or 17.
Wow.
Yeah, and so prior to that, I lived down in the valley, lived in different states, up north, and moving around so much, I kind of gained influence through punk rock and skateboarding and some heavy metal here and there, not too much growing up. And so finally around my mid-teens, I discovered, more metal, more death metal, hardcore punk. I wasn't focusing on skateboarding so much or playing video games, stuff like that. And originally I wanted to be a drummer, but, Chris Adler, stuff like that from Lamb of God.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a drummer, but moving around so much, I was so young, I couldn't afford it, moving on top of that.
Drum kits are expensive.
Yeah, exactly. So I tried guitar, and I had friends lend me their guitars and stuff. And I was kind of like, gosh, there's so much to this. There's technique, there's,
sure,
notes, shapes, things that you have to learn. And I was just impatient. I was young. I was just hungry, just ready to get out there. All the while wanting to be a drummer and guitarist and moving around a lot, switching schools and stuff like that. I had been practicing vocals, screaming along to Lamb of God, Mudvayne.
Just privately in your own room.
Just alone, Deftones, stuff like that, early Deftones.
Were you doing that on a mic yet or no? Just free?
Just free.
Yeah,
No microphone, no nothing.
Yeah, okay.
And so around 16 or 17, I discovered bands more the new wave of core bands, All Shall Perish, Carnifex, Suicide Silence, Whitechapel, Oceano, stuff like that. Job for a Cowboy. And
those are pretty heavy fucking bands.
Yeah, definitely.
All of those bands are pretty fucking heavy.
Yeah, and so being at that age, I was just I want to sound like that. I want to be on stage doing stuff like that, watching the live videos and stuff.
So early on, you kind of had already kind of said the heavier stuff is kind of more my thing.
Right.
Obviously, sure you've been exposed. You were exposed to thrash metal and melodic metal and all kinds of metal.
For sure.
But really, it was the heavier stuff that that resonated with you.
Absolutely. And like the energy, you know, the artwork.
Yeah.
You know, I guess the attitude, the lyrics, you know, the vocal techniques, the deliveries, the way they laid out everything on the music. It just rang with me, you know. And, you know, I was familiar with stuff like Metallica, Megadeth, Iron Maiden, of course, you know, stuff like that. Anthrax, Opeth, Lamb of God, and beyond that, you know. And when I discovered the heavier bands, I wanted to know what they look like, how their shows were. And so I would look them up on YouTube, and I'm like, damn, like those bands are throwing down, you know, they got a good crowd, you know, the energy is just present, you know, it's clear in the video that everybody's having a good time, you know. So I wanted to be that person to like get up there on the microphone and inspire people like how those bands inspired me, and to feel that energy. And, you know, I feel like I have gained some of that somewhat.
For sure. And we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But that's great. Thanks for sharing all that. I mean, I can just imagine how challenging it was to kind of be a young man, a teenager, and kind of moving around and all the transition and different people in your lives and stuff, but yet having that focus that, you know, I want to be a metal musician. Yeah. So when did you realize I got some vocal chops and I'm going to do vocals? When did you realize that?
I would say about 17. I was consistently practicing to a playlist on my little iPod or whatever. And I just play it super loud in my bedroom and just go through like 10 to 15 songs every day, you know. And I was just one day, like, two of my buddies came over. We were playing Xbox, and it was Rock Band, and a song by Whitechapel, "This Is Exile," was on there. And, you know, I never performed in front of anybody, excuse me. And, you know, they were like, hey, like, who wants to do the microphone? And I was like, I'll do "This Is Exile," you know. And
give me that Xbox mic.
Yeah, and so I tried it, and, you know, it worked out pretty cool. You know, they were impressed. And,
wow.
You know, from then on, I was like, maybe I can do this. You know, maybe I can, you know, try to be in a band, try to be that person that, you know, I strive to be on stage as a frontman and performer.
Yeah.
And, and around that time, of course, like any other time, we were moving. And New Braunfels was a place that we were moving to. We got there, you know, long story short, got there. And my initial goal was like hit the ground running, looking for musicians. Started high school, and I was like, anybody wearing metal T-shirts, you know, anybody that I saw that
I need to know that dude.
Yeah, and, you know, I found guitar players, you know, try to talk to them. We'd meet up, hang out. Some of them weren't exactly who they said they were, you know. Or,
for sure.
Found a solid guitar player, found a solid drummer. We started covering some songs, you know, just being a garage band, really. And we recorded a small little, like, jam track. You know, there was no song structure, no nothing. It was just the guitars chugging some riffs, drummer playing along to them.
And you on top of it all.
Yeah, and we recorded it. We came up with like a little band name out of nowhere, made a Facebook page, and put that track on there. So after all that, you know, we tried finding more members to join our band because we wanted to be serious. We wanted.
And this
to
was
play.
all in New Braunfels.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we're like kids, you know, still in high school.
Wow.
And
I'm not too familiar with New Braunfels. You know, I drive through there when I'm going to Austin, but I never think about, you know, young metalheads, aspiring metalheads at New Braunfels High School or anything like that. But that's cool.
Surprisingly, there in that town, there's a small crowd of people
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
So, you know, we kicked out our drummer. He just wasn't into it. He wasn't really dedicated. So we got another drummer. That drummer told us about Athanatos' current guitarist, Johnny Dirksen.
Yeah.
So we linked up with him.
Was he from New Braunfels?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So he had his own band, full band, no singer. They had 5 songs written. Well, anyways, he came to
Were
try.
they called Athanatos at that time?
At the time, they didn't have a name up until like we met each other.
So when, not to jump ahead, but I'm kind of feeling that like when you hooked up with him, that's when you became Athanatos?
It came a couple years after that,
okay.
actually. So this was all happening 2011, after 2010.
Wow, cool.
And so we met Johnny. He tried out for the band, and eventually, like our guitar player, our guitarist of our garage band, he kind of just wasn't feeling it no more. And Johnny, he heard that jam track that we posted on Facebook. He hadn't heard my vocals before that. And he was like, man, he's like, you sound great. He was like, I got a full band. We got some songs. We don't have a singer.
Fuck yeah, it's a no-brainer, bro.
Yeah, and so he got in contact with me, and we drove out to this place in the middle of nowhere where they used to practice at. Tried out, did a couple screams into the microphone, and they were just cheesing. And, they were like, hey, you want to join our band? And I was like, let's do it, Started playing shows left and right. They're in town. We played like one show in San Antonio. But then that's when we went under the name Vlad the Impaler. And
oh, really?
Yes. It was more of like a progressive metal band. We're heavily inspired by like Opeth, All Shall Perish, stuff like that. And then we went for like...
And did y'all play shows and stuff?
Yeah, we played specifically at one venue in New Braunfels, like a lot. But it was more so of a bar. It wasn't a venue.
Yeah.
It was called Black and Tan. And played there like every weekend.
And you were still a teenager at that time?
Yeah, it was. I just turned 18.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Dude, I've been following you for quite some time, and I do a lot of shit like that. I follow a lot of people secretly, and I've now I see what you do, and it to me, like for example, I was watching your vocal recording when you did the Biogenesis record.
Yeah.
Video, and I was like, God, and it was just, the video was like you were hearing the music in your headphones, but you were singing it, and the recording was just of you singing it, and I was like, God damn, how does this guy fucking sing like that? I kind of tried it myself, kind of being stupid. I'm like, I lasted about 2 seconds, but I was like, God damn, this guy can really. I don't know how you do it, but I can understand how, if I'm a band and we need a singer, how easily, attracted these musicians were to what you could bring to the band. So that's awesome, bro. I mean, and let's talk a little bit about that, because when I hear you sing, and then we're going to talk about this a little later, but Athanatos is different than Indisgust.
Yep.
Right, and so what you're delivering vocally is a little different.
Yeah.
If you really know metal, you can tell the difference, right?
Right.
People just think, oh, he's a growler, but I can hear the differences in what you do between both bands. Obviously, Athanatos is more technical,
Yep.
And you do a few different vocal styles with Athanatos, and how did you kind of develop that, or that vocal strength that you have? Because I hear sometimes when I speak to death metal vocalists, and sometimes they say, look, I had to develop it. It took many years for me to develop it, or to strengthen my voice to be like that. When I hear you sing or watch you sing on video, to me, it just kind of seems like you're doing it so easily, bro, like so seamlessly. Like it's not you're not struggling. I don't see you struggling when you're pulling it off, like especially on your kind of like your sing through videos and stuff like that, when you're in your controlled environment, like you're just like totally calm and cool, and you're delivering this fucking brutal vocal, and I'm like, God damn, this dude looks like he's riding a bike. Like it's no big thing. And to other people like me or other musicians, I'm sure they look at that and I'm like, whoa, like this is pretty fucking natural and cool. It's like a true talent.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So how I developed, my techniques, my abilities, my endurance with said techniques was just many years of playing with different styles of bands and, vocal covers, practicing to different styles of vocalist.
What kind of bands did you cover? I mean, you mentioned a few, but like some of your favorite fucking heavy bands.
Some of my favorite heavy bands, I would say, are like I Declare War, Oceano, Lorna Shore, Whitechapel.
Wow.
Suicide Silence, Signal the Firing Squad, Aversion's Crown.
Aversion's Crown.
Yeah, and then there's like Mudvayne, like I mentioned earlier. Senses Fail, I covered them recently. A handful, man. Like it's also.
So you had a lot of material that you could have worked on. Or,
yeah.
Really kind of sang.
So along with all that, like with what helped me get to where I'm at today was just performing with many different live bands, because there was Vlad the Impaler, there was Waves of Fear, there was Mask of Marana, there was a band called Advorsis, my first band Premonition of Fire, but we were more of a garage band. I filled in for some other bands like Protest, Skinned.
Wow. Protest from Dallas?
Yeah, I filled in for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's Advorsis.
That's great. Those dudes that's a good band.
Yeah, and some of my current bands like Athanatos and Indisgust.
But please tell me that when you first started, you weren't as good as you are now. Or were you always that good?
I wouldn't say I was always this good.
Okay.
But
you're really good now. So it's like, man, I'm like, when you're talking about, being in your, and I don't want to say your age on camera, but when you were in your early 20s, I mean, like I said, when it's kind of like a natural thing, you don't know. I mean, you could have been just as good, and maybe you just kind of tweaked a little bit. I don't know.
I think what really helped me was back in like 2014, 2015, I was in a thrash metal band, so we were more like fast paced. So the vocals were more speed, and then at the same time, I was in a more deathcore, brutal band, and then while I was in those two bands, we were doing Athanatos, just starting. So I had three different planes of music to work with. And so I used it, and I've gained a lot of knowledge from all of that and apply it to who I am today.
Awesome. Let's talk a little bit now about, obviously it kind of seems like once you really began your kind of journey, that Athanatos was the first band really that you had kind of said, okay, I'm in a real band now, a legit band. Talk about the early beginnings of Athanatos, because I came to know the band last year when Biogenesis came out, but prior to that, I really didn't know a lot about the band. Obviously, Biogenesis is a great milestone for the band, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But in the early beginnings, was it always considered like I think the terminology now is tech death, and I think the tech kind of reflects a little bit more of the technicality that I mentioned earlier. But obviously, it's not something that a lot of musicians can pull off. All the dudes in that band now, especially with the addition of Martin on guitar, it's a pretty difficult kind of style to play. And then I would think it's even more difficult for the vocalist, because there's so many, changes in rhythm and speed and everything. and I hear you sing that stuff, and you're doing your growling, and then you also do that other vocal style. What do you call that? Like the screaming or the death scream? Or,
the high screams?
Yeah, the high scream stuff. And so you kind of have been able to implement both of those techniques into Athanatos, and it allows you to kind of pull it off a little bit more. It allows for the song to be a little bit more kind of diverse and cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about, my question was, talk a little bit about the early beginnings of Athanatos, and then you're thinking like, yeah, this is my first real band that I'm dedicated to.
So how that came to be was when mine and Johnny's band, Vlad the Impaler, separated. I went on to do other bands, like I mentioned, Waves of Fear, Mask of Marana. Well, Johnny was in search of another band throughout that time. He wasn't really playing with many musicians up until he discovered a band from San Antonio called Impale the Weak, who are no longer around. Long story short, the drummer and bass player of Impale the Weak, they enjoyed what Johnny brought to the table because they were searching for a guitarist, and Johnny brought his own riffs, his own style of songwriting, which is, technical. And, that band was sort of more going towards a thrash metal sound. So it didn't really work out. And the drummer and bass player, they both decided to leave. And then that was the very beginning of our band. And, they started writing together, doing stuff on the computer, recordings and whatnot. And me and Johnny were brainstorming band names, and, we wanted something unique, something that's kind of weird, out there.
You see, you hear me struggling tonight. I think I said Athanatos like 3 different ways.
We've heard some interesting ones.
You're like, Rob, that was the goal. That way you remember it.
So we after a lot of different names, we found Athanatos, which is,
there you go.
In Greek language, it means like infinite, like forever, and that's the imprint that we want to do with our music, with who we are, is leave an imprint, be remembered forever, immortalized. Sure. And from there we kind of like laid low. We were just writing, practicing, recording.
Where would y'all practice at?
So our drummer, he used to live in Seguin, Ethan, and that was like our meetup spot. And we didn't really plan on playing shows. We wanted to release a full-length album, but we just got to that point where we're like, we have a handful of songs ready. Like, let's just release them. So
is there a release before Biogenesis?
Yes, we had 2 releases. We had 1 EP, a full-length, and in between the EP and full-length, we had a single.
So there's a before Biogenesis, there's an EP and a full-length?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
And the songs from the EP are on that full length.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
do you have a copy of the full length? What is it called?
Obsolescent Existence.
Ah. Yeah. Do you have that? I mean, do you have a copy of that? Or?
Yeah, we have copies. I don't have one on me right now, but we have.
I would ask you for it if you did.
Yeah,
I want it. No, that's cool, man. I mean, if you can send it to me, send it to me.
Absolutely.
I'd love to hear that first Athanatos record, because I was such a huge fan of Biogenesis. So let's kind of transition into Biogenesis. And remember, that record dropped in early of 2021, right?
Right.
Was it February? I think it was February 2021.
Correct.
And I remember when I first heard that record, I was like, man, this is fucking brutal. Everything about this record is brutal. Nobody does shit like this and does it well. And I love the whole artwork and the lyrical concepts of it. And I was like, man, this is a great record. I'm not going to let it. I remember telling myself, because sometimes, when you because I always think about the best records of any given year, and I'm like, and sometimes when records come out early in the year, by September you already forgot about them, and I'm like, I'm not gonna let this record, fall by the wayside. And I remember that year in my top 10, I gave Biogenesis number 9 in our top 10.
Thank you.
It was a record that I loved and I jammed a lot. And I remember I interviewed some of your bandmates in support of that record. So we were talking a little bit before we were recording about some of the challenges that you had in finally getting that record out.
Yeah.
So if you can, share a little bit about your thoughts about Biogenesis, and all the hard work you put into it, and how you kind of feel now, kind of looking back a year now behind us, over a year now behind us, a year and a half now, about that record. Because I kind of feel, in the career of Juan Garcia, that is a pretty milestone record.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, with that record, leading up to it, we initially had a concept written for that album, like maybe a year or two before it actually came out or ever was written. And, at the time, we released one single, which was precursor to Dissolution. And, we kind of went off of that. We were playing shows, doing our thing. And then some, events happened in our lives that kind of like, speaking for myself, it kind of pulled me away from everything. And so while that was happening for a couple of months, we were kind of on hold, we didn't know what was going to happen next. Although we did have a lot that we wanted to do. And so I return, I come back to join, pick up where we left off. And they're like, hey, so we got Martin in the band. I'm like, cool.
Did you know him, anything about him before that?
I knew him from his band Zerl. And, I think I had met him like once or twice before that, but he never really spoke much.
He's a very kind of quiet, subtle kind of guy. I kind of gathered that when he was here. Very kind of humble, quiet guy. But then I watch him play and I'm like, dude, it's fucking crazy. This guy's a fucking...
His playing really reflects a lot of who he is. He's very creative and sporadic and crazy.
The silent madness of Martin.
Yeah.
So, am I hearing you correctly? So, like, kind of when he got in the band, you kind of feel re-energized, huh?
Absolutely.
About Athanatos?
Yeah. And I forgot to mention, before all of that happened, we were already on our own path, and we had a different guitarist before Martin. And, things just didn't work out. Stuff was happening left and right. And so we kind of got discouraged a bit, at least in my own experience. I speak for myself, but I feel like at that time we were heavily discouraged. We weren't really certain or sure what was going to happen. And so we got Martin, rebranded ourselves. We got a new house for the band. So we were always together, or they were always together. And so the writing was just happening left and right, and like the ideas were just flowing, things were just coming to life. And, we had so much going on, so many goals. And
that's a beautiful feeling, though, right? When
absolutely.
That's happening, right? Yeah, I can imagine.
And so, we had a couple of songs written. We weren't on a record label yet, nothing like that. We were kind of still just a band doing everything alone. And so we had gotten a message on Instagram on our band page from Lacerated Enemy Records. And, they really liked what they heard.
Where are they from again? They're from Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're from over there. And we were just blown away. We were like, dang, like, this record label was reaching out to us saying that they like what they hear.
Reaching out to you from across the world, bro. That's fucking cool.
And
how did they hear the shit?
So they hadn't heard Biogenesis yet. They had heard, we had some singles out. We had Precursor to Dissolution. And I failed to mention, excuse me, but we had another single, our first release with Martin, which is called, excuse me, it's just been a while since.
Yeah, it's okay. But they heard it.
Yeah.
And they
heard that
like,
single.
that's good enough.
Yeah, and so they heard both of those singles. They really enjoyed it. They were like, hey, like, stay in contact with us. Send us demos. Send us your ideas. We'd love to work with you guys. And so that just, like, fueled us even more, gave us even more motivation. And, we just started grinding, getting artwork, getting stage scrims, a stage backdrop, our little videos, concepted and, filmed. So things were happening for us. We're playing shows, playing new material in the set, and gaining a bigger fan base and
for sure
stuff like that. And then, like, it came time to record and find someone who, we all felt comfortable with recording. And so, long story short, we ended up going through like 2 or 3 different people. And that was a long course, a long time of figuring out, who was going to record us, and we lost some money in the process.
For sure, yeah.
It was...
That's the heartache of it all, right? Because you decide, hey, we're going to go with this dude, and then he's not really delivering, or he's not really jiving chemistry-wise with us. I think that's a big thing. I mean, I hear all these stories from bands working with different producers, and I think the most important thing is, of course you have to have the tools, but also kind of the energy and the vibe, right?
Right.
Yeah. So you finally found someone who vibed with what
absolutely.
you guys wanted.
Good friend of ours.
Great.
And he grinded. He pushed it out for us. We were very content with it.
Sounds great. Great sounding record.
Thank you.
Great sounding record, man. Like, honestly, and I don't mean this in a bad way, I listened to Biogenesis, and I'm like 3 or 4 songs in, and I'm fucking beat, bro. It's like beating me up. I'm like, okay, I got to take a little break because I'm fucking beat. It's a heavy, brutal record. But, for fans who love, and I love it all, but for fans, like, I was talking with Mike DeLeon about this. There's certain musicians and fans who are like fucking death metal purists, right? That's all they listen to, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I listen to it all, and that's why it beats me up. But for the purists, I mean, this record really was a milestone, I think, in Texas metal. And I could easily recognize that, and that's why I put it in my top 10. How did you kind of feel about the reception of Biogenesis when it was finally out and people were, like, listening to it? And obviously, it garnished a lot of acclaim.
Oh, man, it was like a huge...
How gratifying was that for you as a guy who, struggled through the scene in these little obscure towns to have a record that is recognized and now signed to a European label? I mean, it's like, I can just imagine not only is that a great accomplishment, but how you feel after something like that.
It really, like, gave me a whole new purpose, a whole new perspective on who I am, what I'm doing with my life. And
for sure,
it really made me appreciate the struggles and, all the hardships that we had endured, not only ourselves, but as a band as well. And so
all the hard work paid off.
Absolutely.
The sacrifice, not just the hard work, the sacrifice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Too, right? For sure.
And so, like, to sum it up, it's like, it's just incredible, and like what blows our mind is like the label dropped a record, streamed it everywhere, this and that. And we had people from San Antonio being like, you know, if it wasn't for this record label, I would have never.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. And
even in such a close vicinity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's awesome, man. Like, regardless of that, you know, it's seeing people comment or buy stuff from us, or, you know, share our stuff from like a different state or a different country. It's amazing, you know, and the reception has been incredible. Like, no negative things. Even the purists love it, you know, like, it's awesome, man. And to get to perform those songs in front of crowds, and for them to just be like taken back and like, you know, fully into it, you know, it's, you know, you see the crowd's reaction sometimes while you're playing, and they're like, damn, you know, like, it's cool, you know.
I'm not even headbanging, I'm just taking it all in, right? Yeah, I think that's how I would be. Like,
it's fun, man. It's
crazy.
It's really
So Biogenesis came out in early 21. We're in mid 2022 now. What is the band doing now?
Currently, we're gonna play one more show at the end of July at Come and Take It on July 30th. That's in Austin, and then we're going to take a small break from performing to focus on writing for the next album and focus on the concept, the artwork, everything that comes with it.
Do you already have some ideas for that?
Absolutely.
Is it going to maintain the Biogenesis theme?
Somewhat.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah. I think that's cool.
Yeah, somewhat. Not too much. You know, we've already discussed it, but it'll have its tie-ins. And
for some of you guys who want a little bit more, we're not going to get into it right now. But for some of you guys out there who never jammed to Biogenesis, go ahead and take a look at the artwork right now. And if you want to know all about the storyline, you can check out the interview that I did with Athanatos last year. It is on YouTube and on Facebook. Be sure to check that out. I always love the concept of it, like the futuristic kind of what's going to happen with mankind. We're mutating, you know, people say we're still evolving as human beings.
Right.
It's crazy, man. And I love to, you know, that kind of part of you know, the world that we live in, especially nowadays. And you know, think about extraterrestrial life and you know, the universe. Aliens. The more that we know about the universe, and you know, there's all kinds of secret experiments happening all over the world, right?
Right.
Yeah, that we don't know about. Mm-hmm. But it's cool, man. I love it. Great record. It'll go down in the annals of San Antonio metal for sure. Definitely in my book. Before we leave Athanatos, I remember I want to share something with you. I saw the live session that you did for Noise Factory.
Oh yeah,
I thought that was really cool. I always like to see, you know, I like to see bands live, but sometimes when you see live footage, you know, it's from somebody's phone, or you know, it's you get to see it, but it's not that great. But the live session was, I could see you guys live. It was like a multi-camera fucking video. You're in a controlled environment. The recording is professional, studio recording, and it was so cool. You know, I love to see Nathan play his bass and Martin shred and you doing your thing. I mean, it was like a really cool thing. So, and I've spoken with the Noise Factory guys before. What kind of experience was that? Did you like doing that?
Absolutely. I loved it. Like, it was just, I felt that was a milestone for us as a band, because that had been a goal for us for a while after seeing, there's some other, you know, studios that do live performances like that for artists. And there's one in particular that you know, we've all seen. And we would think to ourselves, you know, like, how cool would that be for a band like us to do that, you know, to experience something like that. And, you know, sure enough, years later, we got a Facebook message on the band page, and Noise Factory is, you know, offering us the opportunity to, they're extending their invites to us to come perform. And, you know. And
are they in Round Rock?
They're in
Georgetown. Which is not far from Round Rock.
No.
Yeah. Up in that area, yeah. They've invited me to go out there and check it out. I just haven't done it. I want to go out there and check it out, their studio and stuff.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. We were not expecting that. You know, we pulled up to the place. It's kind of like out in the middle of nowhere, and
Yeah, I've heard that.
so we were there and we're waiting around, and it's like this pretty big sized warehouse looking thing
Wow.
on someone's property. Well, they invite us in finally, and like it's just different rooms. It's like a huge like studio, and it's mind blowing. And we're just there, you know, getting a tour, you know, meeting the staff, and there's Eric, and
Is that the guy who owns it?
yeah,
Yeah.
and it was great. You know, we felt really welcomed, and we were just like kids in a candy store. You know, we were just stoked. You know, they had
Plug me in. I'm ready to throw down.
yeah, they had like
Could you tell them
gear.
where's my St. Pauli girl? I need a brisky.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's cool, man. Yeah, great. I'm glad. You looked like you were having fun.
Absolutely, I was.
You had like your own like. I'm not on stage crowded by all these other fucking guys. I got my
Yeah.
own space right here.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna throw down.
It was great. Like I had my own little room, and the rest of the band had to, you know, space themselves out in this other giant room. But everything was just so well calculated and just planned out, and
That's great.
it was awesome. Like I would love to do it again. It was great.
Great. I'm sure you'll have the opportunity, man. You're doing great things, and you know, I didn't say this earlier, but you know, one of the reasons I wanted to get you on our program quickly was because I know that you have so many more great things to do. This journey just started for you.
For sure.
You are a young man, and you have a lot more things to accomplish, both personally and musically, and you know, tonight off camera we were talking about personal stuff, but you know that the personal stuff, as you grow as a human being, whether you know in relationships with family or your girlfriends or wives, I mean, that all translates into what we do professionally. Yeah. So if you're happy in your personal life, then that all will resonate into your professional life. And you know, you seem to be in a good place, my man, and I can't wait to see what you have coming up next. I can't wait to hear the next Athanatos record and stuff like that.
Thank you.
Let's before I'm sorry, one last question before we leave Athanatos. You talked about the band doing new music. When might we see a new record from Athanatos, or when would you like a new record to come out?
I would like a new record to come out. I'm going to say sometime before summer next year. But we can expect some singles.
Okay. Would you like to do, I mean, a full length or an EP, you think?
That's kind of being talked about right now. Yeah, that's kind of like on our list, whether or not we're doing an EP or a full length.
Yeah, I think that time frame is great. I mean, it's been a while now since Biogenesis, and I think people still jam it. I do, but I mean, you know, if having a certain number of songs is gonna delay, then fucking man, I'd love to see like a 3 or 4 song EP from an Athanatos. That would be great.
Yeah, that's actually like something that we've been talking about.
For sure. And then release it. You know, if you're gonna release singles, that's cool. But you know, whatever marketing strategy you decide to employ. I mean, if you decide to do singles every here and then. But at the end, when it's all done, release the whole thing together.
For sure.
Yeah, that's what I want. I want the whole shit together.
Absolutely.
So I can have it on my phone all together.
Yep.
That's great, man. Let's kind of transition now to a band that I've had a long history with. The band called Indisgust, and you know, I think it was it last year that I think they had their 20-year anniversary?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Indisgust, right? They've been around for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember working with those guys in the past. They've been on Rob's MetalWorks way in the past. And I've been out to their shows and recorded them. And I remember when they kind of came out of the woodworks again, because they were out of the scene for a while.
Yeah.
Even though Mike Fury had kind of stayed busy doing MOD and other things, who I kind of have the most relationship with in the band. But when I saw that Indisgust was back, and then I saw you leading the fucking attack, I was like, what the fuck? They got Juan Garcia on vocals. I was like, oh my God, I got to check this out. And I was really eagerly, waiting for something to happen. And then I remember that I found out about Construct of Indoctrination, the 3-song EP that came out. Was it a month after the Athanatos record came out?
Yeah, actually, yeah.
What the fuck? Juan, you have like 2 records out in the scene?
Yeah.
Who do you think you are, bro? Just kidding. You're like, I'm Juan Garcia, bro.
Right.
Like, God damn, you had 2 records out, bro.
Sure.
I think that, Indisgust, just because they're in an older band and people had kind of moved on from that, and then seeing you guys reemerge, and then, to have you singing for them, obviously a younger dude, a hungry dude, a great fucking singer, really kind of brought back this vigor and energy in Indisgust that I'm not saying they didn't have before, but now that they have again in 2022.
Yep.
Fucking 20 years fucking later, right? So it was a great thing. Now, as we transition to Indisgust, the first thing I want to find out is tell me about your personal take on what you do vocally with Athanatos and how it differs with what you do vocally with Indisgust.
Yeah. So what I do vocally with Athanatos is more technical, lyrically and vocally, and it's just constant, just vocals, screaming, endurance, big words, crazy transitions with words. And the vocals and lyric concept is more of a full band thing with Athanatos. So we all have,
Oh, really?
Yeah, we all have input on
okay.
what I'll say on a certain part or how I'll say it on this part. We all have like a share of what's going to happen on that. So them being technical songwriters, they're going to, demand some crazy stuff from me. And, fortunately for me, I pull it off. But with that being said, Indisgust, the techniques are more, I feel, coming from like a grind, experimental industrial style mixed with like death metal and hardcore. And I feel like I'm able to be all over the place with my techniques. I could do low growls, mid-range vocals, sometimes punk vocals live. I'll just belt it out randomly, and some screams here and there. But lyrically, I'm in full control of the lyrics, full control of the vocal techniques and styles and such. And if I want to take a break from, putting vocals over a certain part, I could take a break, and
let these dudes just thrash it out.
Yeah.
That's cool,
fun.
dude. I think that's so cool, and I think, I'm not a musician, and I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this interview are not musicians, so we don't really understand all that. So to be like in 2 different bands and to say, hey, this is how I differentiate not only what I'm doing, but how I do it,
right?
It's a big, cool thing to know. So thanks for
sure.
sharing that. I mean, I would have never thought that. So the Construct of Indoctrination, for all you people who have not yet seen it, go ahead and take a look at the cover. Came out in March of 2021. It is a 3-song EP. There's the title track. There's a song called Toxic. And then you guys did a video for Heavy Hearted.
Yep.
I love that video, dude. Julie and I must have watched it like 10 times last night.
Wow. Awesome.
Seriously, I kept watching it. Cool. And I kept telling Julie, I said, Mira, this is the guy I'm going to interview tomorrow. And she was like, freaking out on your vocals, bro. And I was like, yeah, this guy is fucking crazy. I love that video. Who did the video?
Our friend Chris Vickroy. Chris or Mike Vickroy? I think it was Chris.
He did a great job.
Yeah.
I love how that video was shot with the flames and the backing light behind Mike's kit.
Yeah.
And it really kind of produced this really kind of ominous type of environment, and you're fucking there singing. You look great in the video too, man.
Thank you.
You look really strong and great in the video. And no doubt, I know Zach and Rogelio from way back in the day, and those guys are, they jam, but they're very passive guys. They're kind of quiet guys to me, at least,
for sure.
at least from what I see.
For sure.
So to have you as the front man and to be very strong and in the front and leading this band now, really leading this band, I think has taken Indisgust into a whole new level. Mike Fury is a great drummer, no doubt,
For sure.
but he's behind the kit.
Yeah.
Okay, you have to have a front man in the front leading the charge, and with you out there in the front, man, fucking Indisgust has, I think now has a great future. And this record, I really love it.
Thank you.
I really do love it, and thank you for sending it to me.
Absolutely.
After asking for 55 times.
Ah.
I finally got it. Thank you so much. I'm just kidding. But yes, thank you for sending it to me. I remember when you sent it, I jammed it right away. I remember it was like 7:30 in the morning.
Awesome.
And I woke up the next day and I threw it on. I was like, oh, man, I knew this record was great. And I just loved it, man. I just loved it. So let's talk a little bit about Construct of Indoctrination. Did you write with the guys on these 3 songs, or were these songs that the guys already had and stuff like that, and then you kind of molded them, or what happened?
Yeah, so how those songs were constructed, they had already had them written. They'd send me demos to listen to and potentially work with. They'd be like, oh, well, this part I'm going to take out and rework it, this and that. So eventually, finally, I'd wait till they send me the finalized version, how they want it, how they're all content with. And
the music.
Yeah, the music.
Yep.
And so lyrically, it was just my own ideas, stuff that I had written on my own, stuff that I would write knowing that eventually would be used for something, because, for Athanatos, it was its own thing, its own concept. So for Indisgust, I get to write about whatever I want. And so I wrote these 3 songs, Construct of Indoctrination being the title speaks for itself. And
Is that more, I remember when I heard that, I was like, that's more how I thought about religion first.
Yeah.
But and then because people get indoctrinated into many different types of religions or cults or whatever.
For sure.
Yeah, but and then even subtly in our own little worlds, we get indoctrinated into certain things, and you don't even fucking know it.
Subscribing to certain
Sure.
things. And so that's what Construct of Indoctrination is about. And then there's another song called Toxic Body, and that one is more of
I thought it was just called Toxic because when you sent me the track, it just said Toxic.
Oh, that was my mistake. Yeah, sorry
Toxic
about
Body.
That. Yeah.
Now I gotta update my iTunes. Why?
I'm sorry, man.
It'll take me 2 seconds.
So that one's more of a reflection of someone who is struggling with drug addictions and struggling with themselves, their own thoughts, their declining mental health.
Sure.
And
what a relevant topic in this day and age, right?
Yeah.
Have you? Let's dig a little deeper on that. Do you have friends or family who've dealt with mental health issues?
Yeah, a lot.
I think now, I think mental health issues have been going on for decades. I think now we just have a name for it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Before we were just like, that's a crazy bitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now we're like, she has mental health issues.
Yeah.
or seriously, I remember when I was a kid, my mom used to tell me when my dad came back from Vietnam, he was crazy. And now we call it PTSD.
Yeah.
Right. So now we have a name for people who succumb to the pressures of life. And how many people have we seen, commit suicide or drug or drink or whatever, excessively because of mental health issues? So is that something you've had personal experience with? I mean, have you?
Yeah. I've experienced it within my family. I've lost, some people in my family. I've lost some friends.
To suicide? Or just they alienate themselves, or
that not to suicide necessarily, but it takes them.
What happened to them?
Yeah
And to say, like, remember what I was telling you earlier, sometimes if you have a mental health issue, people can choose just to remove themselves from it. I'm not fucking crazy. I'm having a mental health issue, because of this relationship with my parent or girlfriend or whatever, and I choose to remove myself from it.
Yeah.
For my own mental health.
For sure.
Yeah. So that story that I shared with you before we were rolling, that's kind of what I did.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you got to do it because life's too fucking short, bro.
Yeah.
Life's too fucking short.
For sure.
Yeah. Great. And what about Heavy Hearted?
Heavy Hearted, that one is about myself. It's a bit of a more personal, deeper song. And, I'll go into it.
Please.
I'll explain it. So, I was in a drug rehab. And, I'd struggled with a ton of things, leading me to that point in my life. And, while I was in rehab, I wrote that song, Heavy Hearted, and it was just the lyrics. I didn't have music to work with.
Wow.
But when they sent me that song, the vibe of it just felt perfect for those lyrics. And, it's like what I wanted to do with that song was for other people to hear it. If they can understand what I'm saying, if they look at the lyrics, they dig into it and, something will resonate with them because at the time I was just learning so much about myself and learning, where all that stuff comes from. And, I'm why most people deal with, drug addictions or suffer from mental illness and they don't get the help that they want or need. And, there's a lot of messages in that song, I feel, and I would encourage more people to listen to it and to, reach out for help if you need it.
Right. That's cool, man. Thank you, sir, for opening up and sharing that. I know sometimes, putting yourself out on the table like that is not the easiest thing to do. But those people like you who can put that fucking pride aside and say those things, like James Hetfield did.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like James Hetfield did a few weeks ago. James fucking Hetfield. Jesus Christ, For him to say, I feel old, I don't feel as good as I used to be, that's huge, man. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But, thank you so much, Juan, for sharing that.
For sure.
A lot of times people don't realize, if they're drugging or drinking excessively, and they think, oh, I have a drug problem or I have a fucking drinking problem. And really, the drinking and the drugging is not the problem. That's the symptom of the problem.
Right.
What's the real problem?
For sure.
The real problem is, how you feel inside. And we drink and drug to numb ourselves to the real problem. So, oh, man. Now I want to go watch the video again. Awesome. You've been, from what I've seen, I think Athanatos is kind of like on the back seat right now, and Indisgust has been kind of busy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we've been focusing more. Actually, we're in the process of releasing another music video soon.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. For Toxic.
Nice.
Or excuse me, not for Toxic, for Construct.
Okay, great. And so
There's still no release date yet, but it'll be very, very soon.
And I was remiss not to say the heavy-hearted video is like a performance video, so you really get to see the band throw down. Are you guys doing the Construct video with the same guy or someone else? Or?
Someone else,
Yeah.
It'll be a performance video as well.
Nice,
but there'll be some other stuff thrown in there.
Nice. Well, is there any update on Indisgust doing new music?
Yeah.
Or do you have some leftover tracks or anything like that?
Yeah, I think I have 2 right now for the next release. I haven't gotten to work with them yet, but they sound fun. They sound awesome, heavy, just very experimental, like pissed off music. I can't wait to work with it. I already have some ideas.
Nice. As far as shows, when I mean, you guys, you kind of keep busy with different stuff, and like I said, Indisgust has been doing a lot of shows. Do you have any upcoming shows coming up that you're going to be playing at, or people can go see you at?
So Indisgust, we're playing June 21st. It's a Sunday at Come and Take It in Austin. And we're opening for Max.
Cavalera.
Yeah, Max and Igor with Cephalic Carnage.
Yeah,
it's going to be extreme. I can't wait.
Oof. I haven't been to Come and Take It for a while, and I think the last time I went there, seriously, I'm not kidding, I fucking got COVID there.
Oh,
but it's
man.
okay. It's all metal. It's all metal.
Yeah.
But that's cool, man. Yeah, that should be a cool show.
For sure. I'm looking forward to it.
Wow. Do you all play some of the old Indisgust stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
absolutely. Like old, like early stuff. And
I'm sure like when you joined the band, because your vocal style is way more kind of extreme than the other guy that I remember that was in the band. Or maybe not more extreme, but you could do it better.
Okay.
And I don't mean any disrespect, but you definitely do it better. So I'm sure you've added so much life to some of those old tracks too.
For sure.
Yeah.
Like, I want to say that's something that's come in hand with how I've gotten better with my endurance and my capabilities to do what I do, like how we were speaking of earlier. And so, like, it was learning all their old material, whereas the previous vocalist, he was doing fast-paced stuff, bunching a ton of words in a small space.
Yep.
But he's doing more of a mid-range vocal. I'm doing that, but with a lower-range vocal, which is like more power, more guttural. So it's more physically demanding. So it's helped craft higher endurance, darker tones in my voice and such. And I have a great time playing all those songs, all the old material. Like, I have personal favorites, and then of course we play some of the new stuff.
You just said physical endurance, and I remember thinking to myself, like, when I was seeing some of your photos and your videos, like, man, correct me if I'm wrong, you kind of slimmed down, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of. I remember seeing old pictures of you. You were heavier, and then I'm like, man, this guy's fucking slimming down. He looks fucking trim. He looks strong. I mean, he looks great on stage.
Thank you.
Yeah, dude, keep it up. Don't
Thank you.
stop. I mean, you see some of my pictures on the wall. You see old Rob. He was pretty big. I lost 65 pounds back in 2010.
Awesome.
2009. 65 pounds, bro.
Good job.
Yeah. I mean, just low carb fucking exercise,
There you go.
That's it. It's not rocket science, right?
Right.
Yeah. And Michelob Ultra. And vodka. Yeah. No more Blue Moon, people.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's great, dude. Awesome. I can't wait to hear new stuff from you. And Juan, please, after tonight, send me your stuff. Stay connected with me.
Absolutely.
I want to promote you. I love you, man. And, I want to see your career go straight to the top. And I think that, you never know, bro. You never know. Just like with Mike DeLeon, you never know. Doors open up. Relationships are vital and important. And honestly, I could see your opportunity opening up with somebody big. and you're graduating into something bigger and better. You're a young man. You have a lot of life ahead of you, and so many great things can still happen. So hopefully I get to see you soon. I want to go out to a show and check you out and shoot some footage. I haven't been able to do that yet, but I want to do it. Geez, did we miss anything? Anything that we missed, Juan, that did you want to share?
I don't think we missed anything.
We got it all?
Yeah, I think we covered a good amount.
That's great, man. I mean, I wanted to cover it all with you. As we end out, any last words? Any thank yous? Any love you want to share? We were talking about your sweetheart earlier tonight. Life is a very precious thing. As fast as it seems to be going in this day and age, right? I mean, is it just me or like? Yeah. Right? It's like been, crazy, right? We're in June already. And
yeah, we were talking about that.
We'll be in October before you know it.
Yeah, it's like, it feels like a couple of weeks ago it was New Year's,
Yeah, exactly.
Now it's like June, like summertime.
Yeah, what the fuck?
My birthday's next Friday.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow. Are you going to do anything special for your birthday?
Might go see Suffocation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I like Suffocation. Might
nice,
do that.
Nice. I love Suffocation. Also, look at that picture right there. Yeah, you saw it already?
I saw that. I was like,
you see, yeah, that's the original singer. What was his? I don't even remember.
Frank the Tank.
And then
Frank Mullen.
Frank Mullen. And what the fuck is the drummer's name? Mike Smith.
Mike Smith.
Yeah. I remember. I'll tell you after we get off camera. I'll tell you a little bit about that picture right there.
Awesome.
Fucking Mike Smith.
Hell yeah.
Crazy guy. He's still with them? Is he still with them? I think he's back with them.
So.
No, I think he got out and then he came back.
Dang.
I think he came back.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Mike Smith's crazy. Love Suffocation. But that's awesome, man. So any love, any thank yous you want to share with people out there around the world who will watch this interview?
Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate all of the support, all of the help. Everybody coming out to shows for any of my bands, supporting me, what I do, supporting any of my bandmates. Don't get discouraged when things get tough. Keep going. Keep chasing your passions and your dreams, no matter what. Reach out, get help, because you can't do it alone. Thank you, everybody watching. Rob, thank you for having me on the show. I feel honored, blessed to be here, because I remember discovering your show when I first got into music, wanting to be a vocalist, and hearing like from other people, peers, old friends, talking about interviews that you had going on your show, and I would overhear them and be like, I just discovered that band the other day, or like I saw that band on Google or MySpace. So it's really awesome to get the privilege and the opportunity to sit here in front of you and do this interview. So thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rob.
For taking the time, for coming over tonight. I'm a fan of yours too.
Thank
you. I love you, man. Thank you. You're awesome. You are definitely one of the shining stars in the Texas scene. I remember today, I think I read a comment. Some guy, when I announced this interview, said, Juan's one of the greatest vocalists in Texas.
Oh, man.
So you got love from all over, bro. And don't forget that people admire your hard work. And I remember you tonight saying in this interview that, there was a point where you fucking found your purpose, and you're like one of the best, bro. So don't stop. And like I said earlier, I feel like you have so much more to do. And when you get there, Juan, don't forget about me.
Absolutely not.
You better come back and interview with me, okay?
For sure.
Please don't forget about me.
I will not forget.
All right. Remember, everyone out there, how can you forget? You saw the man, Mr. Juan Garcia, tonight, only on Rob's MetalWorks.